Welcome back, dear listeners, to the ever-deepening shadows of Bram Stoker's Dracula. We continue with Chapter 2, Jonathan Harker's Journal, still written in shorthand by our proper young English solicitor. Last we left him, Jonathan had just stepped across the threshold of Castle Dracula, welcomed by the tall, black-clad figure of the Count himself. What begins as courteous hospitality slowly reveals itself as something far more sinister. Let us follow Harker's careful, increasingly troubled observations as the walls of this ancient fortress close in around him. 5th May continued. Harker writes that he must have been half asleep when the carriage arrived, for the courtyard of the castle seems vast and gloomy in the darkness. Several dark passages lead off under great round arches, making the space feel even larger. The driver, whose face he still has not clearly seen, helps him down with surprising strength, almost hurling the luggage to the ground. Then, without a word, the mysterious coachman drives away into the night, leaving Harker standing alone before the massive, iron-studded door. There is no bell, no knocker. He waits in growing unease. Finally, the great door swings open with a ponderous groan of chains and bolts. A tall old man, dressed entirely in black from head to foot, stands before him holding an antique silver lamp. No servant accompanies him. The man's face is strong and aquiline, with a thin nose and peculiarly arched nostrils. His forehead is high and domed. His hair grows scantily around the temples, but profusely elsewhere. His eyebrows are very massive and nearly meet over the nose. The mouth is fixed and rather cruel-looking, with sharp white teeth that protrude over the ruddy lips. His ears are pointed at the tops. The overall effect is one of extraordinary pallor. Yet his manner is the height of old-world courtesy. With a grave bow, he says in excellent English, "Welcome to my house. Enter freely and of your own will." He repeats the phrase with strange emphasis, "and leave some of the happiness you bring." When they shake hands, Harker is startled. The Count's hand is like ice, cold as death, yet his grip is of steel. Harker feels an instinctive repulsion, a strange feeling he cannot quite name. But the Count's warm welcome and perfect hospitality quickly put him at ease again. The Count himself carries Harker's bags up the winding staircases and along long, echoing corridors lined with heavy oak doors. He leads him to a comfortable suite of rooms, a bedroom, sitting room, and study, all lit by a roaring fire and furnished in old but elegant style. Supper is already laid on the table, roast chicken, cheese, salad, and a bottle of excellent old Tokai wine. The Count urges Harker to eat, saying he himself has already dined and will not join him. As Harker dines heartily, the two men talk. Dracula is intensely interested in England. He asks endless questions about London, the law, trains, shipping, and the purchase of Carfax Estate, the old house near Purfleet that Harker has come to help him acquire. The Count declares with pride his noble Seckley bloodline, tracing his ancestry back through centuries of warriors who defended the land from invaders. There are far worse things awaiting man than death. Harker notices something odd. Although the Count talks animatedly, he never eats or drinks. His eyes gleam with a red light when he grows excited. When Harker mentions the blue flames he saw on the journey, the Count explains they mark hidden treasures, but quickly changes the subject. After supper, the Count shows Harker to his bedroom and bids him good night with the same elaborate politeness. Harker, exhausted from the journey, falls into a deep sleep, but not before writing down every detail in his journal. He ends the entry feeling both impressed by the Count's hospitality and strangely unsettled by the man's appearance and manner.
7th of May. Harker wakes late the next morning. He finds breakfast waiting, but once again, no servants are visible anywhere in the castle. He begins to suspect he and the Count are the only two living souls within these walls. The thought makes him uneasy. He decides to explore. The castle is a maze of winding stairs, long corridors, and vast, empty rooms. Everything is ancient and magnificent. Rich tapestries, heavy furniture, weapons from bygone wars, but there are no mirrors anywhere. He can go wherever he likes, except where the doors are locked. In the evening, the Count reappears. They talk for hours by the fire. Dracula is a fascinating conversationalist, full of stories of his family's glorious past. He speaks with pride of the Secalese courage and laments how the modern world has forgotten such warrior blood. He asks Harker to teach him the finer points of English pronunciation and customs, so he may pass unnoticed when he moves to London. Harker notices again how the Count never seems to sleep. He appears only after sunset and vanishes before dawn. The nights belong to Dracula. 8th of May. Harker's unease grows. He has still seen no servants. Who prepares the meals? Who makes the beds? The castle feels like a prison, and he begins to fear he is its only prisoner. Unable to sleep, he rises early to shave. He sets up his small travel mirror by the window and begins. Suddenly, he feels a hand on his shoulder. It is the Count, appearing silently behind him. Harker starts violently and cuts himself. A thin trickle of blood runs down his chin. In that instant, the Count's eyes blaze with demonic fury. His face contorts into something bestial. He lunges forward, grasping for Harker's throat, but his fingers touch the string of beads holding the crucifix that the old innkeeper's wife had pressed upon Harker. The Count recoils as if burned, his rage vanishing in a moment. With forced calmness, he says, "Take care how you cut yourself. It is more dangerous than you think in this country." Then, in a sudden fit of anger, he seizes the shaving mirror and flings it out the window, where it shatters on the stones far below. "Take care," he repeats, "if you value your life." Harker is left shaken. Later, when he looks again, he realizes something impossible. The Count cast no reflection in the mirror. Only Harker's own face had been visible. Moreover, there are no mirrors anywhere in the castle. The truth begins to dawn on him, slowly and terrifyingly. The doors he tries are all locked from the outside. He cannot leave. He has become a prisoner in Castle Dracula, at the mercy of a being whose nature defies all rational explanation. Harker writes in his journal with growing dread, "I am in fear, in awful fear, and there is no escape." He longs for Mina, for the safety of England, for anything familiar. Yet he knows he must keep his wits about him. He must continue to play the polite guest while secretly observing everything. The chapter closes on this note of quiet horror. The young solicitor, who arrived full of practical English common sense, now finds himself trapped in a nightmare where the rules of the natural world no longer apply.
That was Chapter 2 of Dracula, where the mask of hospitality begins to slip. Jonathan Harker, ever the meticulous recorder of facts, documents every unsettling detail: the Count's unnatural strength and cold touch, his refusal to eat or drink, the absence of servants, the missing reflection, the violent reaction to blood and the crucifix. Layer by layer, Bram Stoker tightens the noose of dread. What started as a business trip has become a fight for survival in a place where night reigns supreme and ancient evil walks in the shape of a courteous nobleman. Harker still clings to reason, but the walls are closing in. The castle itself seems to breathe with malevolent intelligence. If your skin is crawling just a little, then the story is working its magic. Stay with us for Chapter 3, where Harker's explorations lead him to even darker discoveries, and the true nature of his host begins to reveal itself in horrifying detail. Thank you for journeying with us into the heart of Gothic terror. If this chapter chilled you, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss a single entry from these haunted journals. Remember, in Castle Dracula, the nights are long, and something watches from the shadows. Sleep well, if you can. Until next time, lock your doors.